Shabbos afternoon. We've been doing it already for 2 years. No, a
Right,
year. Something
right.
like
So
this.
he's dealing with the hard, the first, he's
What?
dealing with the
Which bracha you make on what?
very hard,
Very, very
very
hard.
hard. The Gemara says that the Haretz, forgot what the Lashon is, Haretz Leida or whatever, Haretz, if you want to know the proper brachas, Yilch Eitz Chacham
Vilma,
Vilmat, yeah.
yeah.
It's very, or Yilch Eitz Labaki, the Lashon of the is,
There's so many things to read, like granola bars, this.
right,
People don't realize.
right,
They're eating two slices of pizza and Zenis. That's nothing.
right,
All you learn is really,
right. For 9 minutes, I'm just gonna go over. Do we expect more people to come or?
you could stop
Okay.
because
Okay.
they're, right.
Just give me a
So the
minute.
mitzvah always could go on YouTube and look at it.
Right.
No, like this morning I wasn't here and I listened to
Actually,
it. That was good.
very. Who came this morning? Rebecca.
Someone did a
Oh,
model
it's
for a long time, Berlin.
yes, I live down the block. Yeah.
You live down the block?
He lives on the block.
I didn't know that.
He used to be every harvest time makes some morning calls. But not much, well, anymore. But makes a morning call and he went back.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay, go ahead.
His wife has regular job, so he can learn to call all day. It's not bad given his age to be able to do that. My uncle share his money, that's why.
This thing I point out that I don't say you have a chiyuv. You want, you make tshuva. You don't want, it's not a chiyuv to make tshuva.
Well, I mean, it
If
is.
you do this in this way, but
I mean, if you want to lump them up, I mean, not that we make a big deal of it, like I said, but some don't make a big deal of lump up. You know what I mean? The way to look back. We don't make a big deal of the physical pleasure either, at least not with other.
right.
Yeah. The Olympics don't make a big deal along with that, per se. Just one more minute and I'm sorry. Um, I mean, the only reason we do is to practice on how the that's when you do mitzvahs. Okay, so like this Birchtanen is very vast. The bulk of it is obviously food. The brachas that give hana. The Birchtanen in general is on brachas for things, thanking Hashem for different things that gives hana. Mainly food, also reach, smell. But then in the end of Birchtanen, there's some other halachas. There are other types of brachas that we make, cham, misakin, and different things that we see, um, or different things that bring simcha. We're specifically going to focus on a couple of few that have to do with things that when we see, it brings out in a person in a person a feeling of
Oh, Masaf Hashem.
yeah, awe from the Eibishter and his great creations. So we're going to speak specifically about them, about those a few of those, but in general, it's different ones. I'll just mention before we get into what we're going to discuss. A very interesting halacha. Um, it's brought in these halachas. It's in Seder Berachos. It's brought in Parakid Beis. So a certain set of halachas, a certain set of halachas is shachiyanu and brachas of which are both brachas that are said when something good happens to a person, so he has to thank the Eibishter for the great thing that happened to him. So the halacha is that if someone has something good, a great fortune that happens to him that's only to himself, so then he makes shachiyan. But if it's something that happens to a few people together, then you make a teva. So there's a halacha that's brought if someone receives a matana, someone receives a gift. So Pasha, what bracha do you make? You receive the gift. It's something good for you. It's just for yourself. You make a shachiyana. So there are that would be simply what you would say. But there are some Rishonim that hold. You could, if you want, you could see it inside in Perikid Beis Halacha Gimel. In the Seder Berachos, he writes that matana, someone receives a matana, yesh aim shemevarach b'makom shechiyan, instead of the shechiyan, he makes a teva metiv. Shu teva lo yelanesim. Why? She'im hamakabel ani, because if the receiver is a poor person, who teva lenesim sheziko hakadosh baruch hu las tzedakah. It's considered, in addition to a great fortune to the receiver, it's also considered a great fortune to the giver, that he was given the great opportunity to give and be mekayim the mitzvah. So it's very interesting that in halacha we consider and we recognize the schus of having a mitzvah as a real great fortune. That at halacha some Rishonim say that will be considered a taiva for two people, for the Nason and for the Makabel. Very interesting halacha. I just thought it would be interesting to mention before we get into.
How come when about mitzvah boy, the first mitzvah he do is Kriyat Shema at night. This is the first mitzvah the rest. Why doesn't he make Shechianu the minute it was Shkia? That Baruch Hashem, I'm now mitzvah. I'm so happy that I'm making a mitzvah. Yeah. This is actually the first mitzvah, right? The Simcha. Why doesn't he make a Shechianu? Should make Shechianu that I'm going into
right, for sure. Yeah. The source of being able to,
even before you say Shema, you already have a mitzvah. Even before he says Shema, you already make the mitzvah of Simcha. That second that the Shkia or Kita Chachamim or whatever, and it's Chiv Deorais to say, oh, now that second is the Simcha mitzvah Simcha.
Right. In general, Shechianu and mitzvahs are mitzvahs that come from time to time.
Right.
But you're saying this is the first opportunity.
The first time is making a mitzvah that is
no, it's a good question. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to be discussing specifically is going to be in Perikid Gimel, from Tazvav to the end. So like most of Berachos Ha'reah, it's all Masech Berachos. So there's a Perek Ha'reah. Perek Ha'reah discusses different a bunch of different brachos which go under the category, like I said, Berachos Ha'reah, brachos you make on things that you see, and there's a list. Within the list there's a few. I'm just going to read out. It's not written inside, but I'm just going to read out. So it says like this: there's two categories. There's al hazikin val hazvais val ha'amim val haruches val habrakim, which goes on shooting stars.
Which we have this nowadays. True.
Yeah, there is.
I never see it.
Could be in the city.
Brooklyn,
you don't see it.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
In the city because there's a lot of light. You don't see these type of things. So
but where would you see something like that?
Out of where there's not so much light, upstate, in the country. But you have to know the times when it happens. I don't know.
You have a lot of street lights. You have a lot of tall buildings also. Here you have a lot of tall buildings also.
Right. Then you have earthquakes, winds, and
Wind, what are we talking about? Which wind?
So we'll get to that. We'll discuss that soon. And thunder and lightning. On that, the Mishnah says, what bracha do you make? Baruch shekeichel gvirasim alei eilim. Then the Mishnah lists another few, which is mountains, al harim, val gvais, val yamim, val naharis, val midbaris. And then mountains and rivers. We'll discuss it also, yeah. And on rivers and on oceans, the bracha is Baruch Eis. And then the Mishnah adds that Yehuda says that even some Hareya is Yam HaGadol. Someone says Yam HaGadol, which we also have to discuss what is Yam HaGadol. Eimer Baruch She'asat Yam HaGadol. Baruch She'asat Yam HaGadol. The Mishnah says when you make this, all these brachas, Bizman She're'eyu Prakim, when you see it from time to time.
Which is 30 days?
Right, so we'll discuss that also. So this is in general the Mishnah. We have two categories. There's the category of the second category, which is the great sites, mighty mountains and rivers. And the first category of when, and then there's the first category of crazy things that happen, crazy, awesome, the thunder and lightning, the earthquakes, etc. So the Mishnah says in the first category you make Keich Gerasim Alaylam, which the brach of Keich Gerasim Alaylam means the pashtas that these things show the great power of the Eibishter. It's great koyach, and that instills in us a yira for the Eibishter. And then the bracha of Eis Ma'aser Bereishis, the idea in it is that these are great creations of the Eibishter that when you see them, it leaves an impression on the person that these are great things that were created many years ago, and it's a specific. I mean, everything was created in Sheish Meibreishis, all the teva, all the nature was. But when this same mountain range or this same ocean was here for many years and so powerful, and the Eibush created it with a certain yeah. Now the Gemara says that that really on the first category that the Mishnah says that you make the bracha shekech gerasim alaylam, the Gemara says the Mishnah means to say you could also make shekech gerasim alaylam, but you could also make the bracha Eis Ma'aser Bereishis. But in the second category, no, you can make either bracha. In the second category, the great sites, the Yamim and the Naharis and the Harim and the Gvais, that you only make Eis Ma'aser Bereishis. Now, just as a side point, why can't you make a Eis Ma'aser Bereishis on the second category? If you see mighty mountains, it shows a great keich, the Eibishter, massive oceans. It's the power is meridic. So the Levush explains that the bracha Chazal Masakah for Shekeich Gerasim Aleilam specifically on things that you see the power as it moves from place to place. It travels. So whether it's
like
wind or lightning, thunder, etc. Shenki and the Yamim and the Haris and the Harim Gvais, they're all in one place. If you come to that place, you see it. If you're somewhere else, you don't necessarily see it. It's not something that travels. It's not something that moves. Something that moves is a much bigger kayach, shows on a bigger kayach and gvurim. Yeah. So now,
ocean doesn't move. I mean, the ocean stays, but the ocean's moving. Like,
the
waves, the water.
But again, the base of the ocean is there, and you have to go to the ocean. It doesn't travel from place to place.
Only ruach and thunder.
Lightning, yeah.
Like,
even the Saddam, even a earthquake, we say is considered things that move. Because at the end of the day, its power travels. It's usually not someone
shaking. It's not moving.
Shaking, yeah.
Even earthquakes would be.
Yeah, even earthquakes are considered things that or I don't know if I don't know if we have to say moves. Its power travels. Its power isn't stationary. It's not in one place.
In an earthquake, it actually moves. There are places like in the West, in the Western United States, where you can actually see an earthquake and the earth split, and you can actually see the split in the.
Right. But I don't know if it's always right.
And sometimes the houses fell in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. Okay, so Akapanim, I just want to say Akdama, on a lot of these brachas, I don't know if some of these brachas, I don't know if people, if any of you have ever made these brachas before, if you ever seen anyone make these brachas. So it's really makdim that
fun doesn't like it.
It's not like all the time, but let's say the mountains and the rivers and the oceans.
Depends which mountain. If you go to Grand Canyon.
Have you ever made this bracha?
No, I don't remember making.
So I never either did, and I never saw my parents do it. But I just want to make Akdama. It's in Shulchan the Shai Tshuva brings all these brachas that we're talking about. So some of them are obvious. Let's say thunder and lightning we've probably made many times.
What you said you never made?
Sorry? On the mountains, and the rivers, or the oceans. So I've made it on thunder and lightning, but I've never. So it depends on some of them. Right. So those would be that's true. On a
Mountains.
Correct. The only base masturbation it would apply, let's say, for earthquakes. You would be able to make either bracha. I've never made it, but
actually. And I saw the big ocean.
Right.
When I was a kid, I lived in California, so we said bracha
on the earthquakes. Okay. So this is what I want to make. First of all, with a lot of these things, unlike thunder and lightning, or if you live in California with earthquakes, these things don't happen every day. So it's very hard to know to say, oh, there's a minig not to say. If something that's common, you can say there's a minig not to say. If something that only happens once in a while, people maybe don't realize. The Shari Tshuva brings, and in Siman Chav Zayin, which discusses these halachas, he brings that he brings that there are those that say that we never see anyone that made. He speaks specifically about a shooting star. We never saw anyone make this bracha. But he says that since in the Peskim this bracha is brought, we don't see anyone that's like that. There's no makom to say that there's a reason why there's a minig not to say because there's certain shits that hold not to. So there's no shit that hold not to. We never saw anyone that made it. He said later inu later. So you have to know. Oh, okay. So he followed what he says, and basically saying that seemingly the same thing would apply to all these brachas, unless it's something that we know clearly. It happens all the time. We know there's a minig not to do it, so he doesn't really have to do it. But it's something that only happens from time to time, only in the special situations. It doesn't happen in the regular.
You have to be down on the ground to see it. Let's say you fly to Israel, you fly above Europe sometime, and you see the Alps.
So I don't know. But Pashtas, I don't know specifically about Pashtas. Any site that is pale on the person, a spineless from the flaw of the creation, then you would make the bracha.
So
basically, the idea of the bracha is that you see certain things that are ma'ir by a person, a year or a spineless on the greatness of the Eibishter.
Mm-hmm.
This is you're supposed to make bracha.
It's just showing us also bracha need a mazel. Make a bracha. You need a mazel. The bracha need a mazel. But we said the bracha. So it's not regular, it's irregular.
Right, it's true.
there are certain times of the year when if you know where to look, if they know where the astronomers know, but you can look, you where to look. There's a certain times of the year when they have what's called meteor showers. Mm-hmm. So you see a bunch of shooting stars.
Oh, okay.
Northern Lights also.
Huh?
The Northern Lights also.
The Northern Lights. Okay, that's something different. He said talk about how called it Shavit. That's like a shooting star. That's something. The Northern Lights is something else, but a shooting star. Once Taylor says this, it's a meteor. It's meteorites. You actually have meteorite showers, and someone else is talking about a comet, and you can see a comet if you know when to record.
Right. So speaking. Okay. So just to speak a bit more about what you're discussing. So, like I said, in the Mishnah it says that these brachas are made when you see it. In the Lashon Mishnah is bisman shelei er leprak, when you see it from time to time. So in general, it's one of the places. And in general, this rule means every 30 days. Something that's seen once every 30 days, you make a bracha. If you see it within 30 days, you don't make another bracha. However, this all applies if you've seen the same things. If you see a certain mountain range, let's give an example. Something that's one of Grand Canyon is a Mount Everest, or is Grand Canyon a desert? A desert? But same idea, Midbar, same idea, Grand Canyon. So that's like really, this.
The Alps
right. So if you see it within 30 days, you don't make another bracha. However, what happens if you see two different mountain ranges within 30 days, or a day later, or the same day? Then it says in the place you'd make another bracha because you're making a bracha on the new site. So if it's the same site, you have to wait 30 days to renew the espines. But if it's a new site, it's a new mountain, it's a new. So the same thing would apply to the same thing would apply to the shooting star. That if it's a different star, you make a new bracha. The problem is we don't always know. Not necessarily. Maybe today we have ways to know, but a regular person doesn't usually know if it's a different star, it's the same star. So I think it's brought. So it's brought that.
Definition of a shooting star is always going to be a different star, no? I think it's always a different star moving.
It's not possible to be the same shooting star?
No,
same star.
What happened? What, the star actually falling from one place to another?
Yeah, I'm not joking. Right?
And what a light come out of it? Or
it burns up, it's a gas.
But not enough physically that come down to the ground.
Physical, it's not physical.
No, so sometimes it's left over and it falls onto the ground. That's
it's a bird.
Yeah, they're meteorites.
You do some pieces.
I'm not sure. All I can say is brought in the Paiskim that the same night you should not make a bracha twice. Maybe because the suffix is the same star, maybe for other reasons.
Okay.
I'm not sure the exact details. You're saying it's not possible for the.
I don't believe so.
And if it's these other type of meteors or whatever.
Meteor also burns up as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
it's like lightning. What you see, you
Right.
see actually electric.
Right.
So
Is there maybe some other things that could be the same? Okay.
They are.
So I guess it's
You
if not.
get hit by one.
Yeah.
I don't understand it says in the place not to make a bracha twice in the same night. So regardless, I don't know exactly what the reason would be, but probably wouldn't make a bracha twice in the same night. In regards to thunder and lightning, so it says in the place as long as if the same storm, the lashon of Pesachim is if the spazra of him, if the clouds left and new clouds come, then you make a new bracha. But if it's the same clouds, it's interesting because today something you could see on the radar, some of the weather radar, you could see that it's the same storm, but there's little patches, not like all one solid cloud, like a little patch. So possibly as the cloud moves along on top of you, you could have like an empty space where there's no clouds, but it's really all part of one storm. So I'm not sure. I would assume that you won't make a new bracha. The general idea is if it's a new storm, then you would make a new bracha. Just an interesting thing. What happens if someone sees a certain sight every day? He lives on the ocean. That's what we said. One of the things are oceans. Someone lives on someone lives at the edge.
Yeah, he sees the ocean all day.
Yeah, he sees the same ocean every single day.
Same scenery.
So the question is, could he make a new bracha every 30 days? So it's brought, there's a thesis that says in regards to brachas that are like a bracha of a klala made for a Avodah Zarah, that if someone sees the same Avodah Zarah every day, usually the rule would be once every 30 days you make a new bracha. If the person sees it every day, then you don't make a new bracha. So it's possible that the same rule would apply over here. And again, the idea, the concept is, in general, the concept is that something that's murdered by a person is violence. So it's murdered by a person. If someone sees it every single day, but pashtus, like you said, same scenery, you wouldn't really, Okay, now, maybe we'll just continue a bit more outside. Most of what we said, a lot of it's written inside. Sorry? Right, so we said out most of this. Right, we said most of it. I'll just maybe I'll say a bit more outside, unless. Right, I'll just continue saying
You go
about
to the zoo and you see an animal that you never saw in your life. You make this bracha.
not this bracha. I'm not sure. There are certain brachas on certain things. It would have to be Mishana Bri. It's not a regular. I'm not sure. I don't know the details of those brachas. But there is such a concept. Over here we're supposed to be talking about things that are bring out that person a certain mighty power, the great koyach of the Eibishter, or things that you see a creation that has existed since Sheish Mei Bereshis and it's still with its full might. Now, this is something very interesting in regards to thunder and lightning. So, I think generally everyone knows that if thunder and lightning, you make two brachas, right? I don't know, maybe there's different minhagim in this, but so according to halacha, if you see thunder and lightning at the same moment, the pashtus you cannot make two brachas. You would have to make one bracha at the same moment. If you see two different things that make the same bracha, the chiyuv comes together, and you would make one bracha. The pashtus. However, generally you see it one after another.
It's not special.
So I get this. Generally, you see one after another. Usually the lightning comes first, and then you see thunder, and then you hear the thunder. It could be sometimes you don't notice the lightning, you hear the thunder, and then a minute later you see the lightning. So it could happen.
Second one,
right? But it doesn't matter. Meaning it could happen in a different order. But generally, a person sees the lightning, then he hears the thunder. Now we already said earlier on the first category, thunder, lightning, and these things, you have two options of a bracha, either Eis Ma'aseh Bereshis or Shekach Gvuras Malach. Now the simple reading of Shulchan Aruch is that in general the main bracha you make is Eis Ma'aseh Bereshis. You could also make Shekach Gvuras Malach. Chazal also had such a bracha over there. We also had a second bracha as an option, but the Iker bracha would generally be Eis Ma'aseh Bereshis. Unless obviously the person feels, it says you could make whichever one you want. If a person feels that he's more in the spell from the koyach and the gvura, then thinking about the fact that these were creations that the Eibush created in Sheish Mei Bereshis, so then he would make add bracha. But generally, so what do you do if you have thunder lightning? So someone could say make twice Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. You see thunder, you see lightning, make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. Then a half minute later you see thunder. You hear thunder, so you make another Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. So it's brought on the basis that the Olam is Nayeg, instead of making the same bracha twice, one right after another, let's make one bracha on one and the second bracha on another. And they decided that the lightning will make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis, and then the thunder you'll make Shekayach Beres Me'alayim, because on thunder it's brought out more the Gvura.
You hear the noise.
Yeah, it's a lot more
scary.
Yeah.
Usually they never come together. First the lighting,
correct.
so it's like two separate entities.
That's what it
No, 100%. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if it would come at the same moment, then you'd make one bracha. Seemingly, maybe some place can learn that, but the first halach would be you make one bracha. But if it's a few seconds later, like it usually is, then you make two brachas. And the minig is, again, you can make any bracha you want. You can make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis twice. You can make Shekayach Beres Me'alayim twice. The minig is that to make two different brachas, not the same bracha twice. And then the lightning you'll make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis, and then you'll make Shekayach Beres Me'alayim. Now, that's thunder lightning. Now, moving on to winds. So, what type of winds? So, obviously, we're only talking about big winds. The understanding is we're not talking about the regular wind you have all the time, right? We're talking about winds that, like, for sure, are similar to these other things. Either thunder lightning or earthquakes that bring up by a person something special, something unique.
Sandy.
So simply wouldn't have to be, I don't know if it have to be as crazy as a hurricane, but something like really, very, very powerful, not the usual. Something like, today you could always know how many miles.
Oh,
So I don't know what the shear would be, which miles per hour. It has to be something, very unique. So what's interesting is the Taisa says that in order to make, so like we said earlier, you can make two brachas, either Keiach Geras Ma'alayim on this category, or Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. Taisa says you can only make a Keiach Geras Ma'alayim if it's a very fierce, not just a very, very strong one, very, very fierce. And the Magen Avraham brings this Taisus. Now, question is, how do you practically, what does this mean? So the Mishnah Berurah writes that since we don't know what's very fierce, what's not so fierce, any strong wind, you just make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. And this way you always yaitz it. That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. But in the Lashon Shulchan Aruch, in the Lashon of the Alter Rebbe, in the same Berachos Ha'reah, he just says that you only make a bracha on a fierce wind. So seemingly, if you're following the Mishnah Berurah, any very, very strong wind would seemingly make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. It would seem if you follow the Alter Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe, which he just keeps the regular lashon of the Shulchan Aruch, and he doesn't include what the Magen Avraham, out of the Magen Avraham. It would seem that, like you said, only a hurricane, only very, very fierce, extraordinarily fierce winds, you would make this bracha.
What's the measurement? Doesn't say.
Doesn't say. It's a very interesting thing that's brought. Stama, just a very interesting thing. The Magen Avraham writes that this ruach shazaf, this fierce wind, Taisa is talking about, doesn't come by night. Doesn't say why. I don't know where this comes from, but he says by night you don't have these extraordinarily strong winds. It only comes by day.
What is a ruach shazaf?
Yeah. That's what it says. I don't know what we're yeah. Okay, so now moving on to so that was all the first category, all the mighty things. Now we're going to move on and discuss a bit the other things, the great sights. So, which we said again, there's Harim Mugvais, Yamim Haris, oceans and rivers, and Midbaris, deserts. So, and then this you make Eis Ma'aser Bereshis. These are things that great sites that have been around since Ma'aser Bereshis. So the question is, what's about things that were created maybe not by Sheish Ma'aser Bereshis? Maybe they're created a little bit later, maybe by the Mabul, things that only came after the Mabul. What would be the halacha like these?
What would be like something?
Similarly, idea. See what? Sorry.
What would be that we see today without from our storage?
A man-made,
No. So man-made would be different because then, but let's say something was made.
All the mountain to represent my Bereshit. Look today.
Oh, how do you know?
When else it was done?
So it's a very interesting thing. The Maratz Chius writes that I don't know. I saw that. I don't remember exactly what his where he learns that from, but he writes that all the mountains were created by the Mabul. Besides for certain ones, because he says in the Torah, most of the mountains were created only by the Mabul.
Even by the
After the
Bible, it says that the Torah,
Right, he says certain.
all the mountains.
So he said there were certain ones. Okay, he deals with that. He says maybe certain ones, but he says most of the mountains were created after the Mabul.
I know, let's say in the Sahara Desert, right? Sometimes could be wind. The wind take the whole mountain from here and move it 1 mile away. Huge mountain that unbelievable. And Hashem make the wind so strong. Whoever was there, like a whole city, moved 1 mile.
The mountain go?
Huge mountains, like sand.
I don't believe that.
Sand. It's called sand. Sand. Yeah.
So what?
So
Sand.
the
Sand.
wind blow the sand so much.
Sand?
Sand.
Sand.
Yeah,
Dune.
the desert, you have sand.
Oh, so that means that the whole mountain is taken apart.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like the whole mountain in total was moved from one place to another.
No,
the mountain was
the wind it destroys so much.
It turned into sand or it turned into earth, and it just all these pieces moved elsewhere.
Right.
So that would be a similar thing if it's done through the Eibishter. It's done, but it wasn't from Sheshem Eibishter.
Right.
Al derech what the Meratz Chai says, it's in Yaakov Shimoni, it also says somewhere such a thing, that the mountains weren't created by the Mabul. He says they were created before the Mabul, but not by Sheshem Eibishter. They were created later. It's brought somewhere in Yaakov Shimoni. In Berachos,
what was there before? Was a flat land? Like what was there before?
Yeah.
No,
but something, yeah, why not? So, as I state, so what would be
Brocha.
do these things? Practically, I don't know. How would we know? I guess according to Mount Chayes, you would say most mountains. Another interesting thing is that the way there's Rashi al Torah says that Yam HaMelech, he says that the Emek Hasidim, that Yam HaMelech wasn't created b'Sheshem Eibishter. It only happened after time that it formed.
That was like Berachos Ha'reah.
And
like Berachos Ha'reah, that we should create later on.
right, yeah. But here we're speaking like things that you would make a bracha, and it's interesting to point out that the Yavitz, as a general thing, he discusses this halach of making a bracha on rivers. He's discussing something else about Yam HaGadol. It's a whole discussion. But Teich HaDvarim, he mentions Derech Agav. He gives a list of regular oceans that you make a bracha on, regular bracha. Because we mentioned the Mishnah says that the Yam HaGadol, you make a besides for regular oceans, the Yam HaGadol, you make the Rabbi Yehuda says you make a special bracha. So he discusses what's Yam HaGadol, and we'll discuss soon that this machlekes is what it is. So he mentions like what's regular Yamim in the Hadith, and he mentions Yam HaMelech. So it seems like according to the Yavs and the Rashi, it seems like you can make this bracha on something that wasn't created or according to Matzchayis or the Yaakov Shimoni. There's halacha that speaks about all mountains, and it seems like according to these Makeres, most of the mountains were created not b'Sheshem Eibishter. It seems like this bracha, Eisem Bereshis, would apply even on something that wasn't created b'Sheshem Eibishter. That's what it seems. We're going to see soon in a minute, maybe some paiskim that don't learn like this.
It seems from the Torah itself that the Yam HaMelech was from the time even after Abraham Avinu, because it says Emek Hasidim Hu Yam HaMelech. That in time of Abraham it's called Emek Hasidim,
correct.
And it turned into the Yam HaMelech afterwards.
Correct. That's it. Rashi explains what you're saying on Emek Hasidim.
When Lot wife turned him on, then
she became a Nitzimel.
Yeah.
That was it.
So what you're saying is correct. So that's why I'm saying that from this we see that the bracha of Eisem Bereshis you can make even on something that wasn't created in Sheshem Eibishter. But we'll see in a second it's not so simple. So specifically, so this is a general note. We'll see in a second halach l'maisa what we'll do. The pashtus halach, I'm saying the halach is that mountains. It doesn't say in Shulchan Aruch such a thing that are mountains. You have to know. Mountains are mountains. We assume it's. The question will become in rivers. We'll discuss in a minute because rivers are things that are more likely to shift. Okay, we'll discuss in a minute. So first of all, just as a start, you mentioned about something that was changed b'dei Adam.
Also, river stop. Some river stop.
Correct. So yes, it stops. It's not there. If it's not there.
No, I'm saying you're making a bracha on something that.
No, so if it's not there, you only make a bracha if you see it. If it's not there, so you talk about a bracha.
What's the lotion of the Noah's and Chazvin in 1 to 7 years?
Yeah, Muchaz is if it stops within 7 years.
It's not good.
A real.
River. You don't call it a river because a river is always
right. Correct.
something like that.
It's brought up all the time. That idea to bring out what's something that's real will last.
Right.
Will last forever. And if not, even though it's there for 7 years, it's called shak. Yeah, shak.
Even when you run, it's not right.
Right. Correct. So it's in regards to the rivers, it says in the Gemara that if there was a river that was man-made, you don't make a bracha. It doesn't discuss about if it was made after Shishmit. It says it's man-made, you don't make a bracha. What happens? You have sometimes a river where they changed course. They put a dam, and therefore it moves. So the Gemara says that you can make a bracha, obviously, on the man-made part. But the Gemara says you could, if you're standing on the earlier part of the river, where it's still b'dei Shemayim, so then you make a bracha.
I think it's more when you see a dam in the water, when you see all these things, how much electric this is more Ma'aseh Hashem than the river just floods.
But if
you see if you're talking about a small river, if you're talking about a small river that just as a general point, for sure you wouldn't be making up. Okay, we'll discuss in a minute, a bit more specific. But in general, the bracha you make on rivers is only a river that actually brings out the stylus. It's a small river, Takivon. Like it's a massive river. It brings.
What is it called? The Kinneret. It's more swimming pool,
right? And
it's like a swimming pool. It's fine, but it's a small ocean. You know, it's
when you. I don't remember when you stand on one end of the Kinneret. Could you see?
Jordan. The other side, yeah.
You see the mountains on the other side.
Yeah.
I saw the Mississippi.
Sorry?
When I saw the Mississippi River, I made it all.
Right.
It's so big, it's unbelievable.
Right.
In 1 second, there are literally thousands of tons of water every single second come pouring out.
Right. So, so just as a more general point, so the Gemara says that if it's b'dei Adam, it's a problem, right? If it's b'dei Shemayim, it's good. What happens? You see a random river, and to you it's big enough, it gives you a spilus, but you don't know for sure if it was man-made. Maybe if it was created, you don't know if it was b'dei Shemayim or b'dei Adam. So the Prim Gadim says that if you have a suffix, yeah, it can happen.
You see a river,
and you're not sure if it's b'dei Adam or b'dei Shemayim. Says Machlekes HaPoskim, the Al Yirav Neprim Gadim. If you say that it's a suffix and suffix bracha of a could be a bracha of a tala is lahakal, or do you say that you're not chayshish? And suffix you assume it was b'dei Shemayim. Most rivers are b'dei Shemayim. So it's Machlekes HaPoskim. What to do l'maisa? If it's a river that you're not sure if it was Mishesh Mebreshis, it's also a river that's not the Ma'ir such as Spilas. So you won't make a bracha. Now that's more of a general point that you don't know when it came. It says more specifically, we're discussing rivers and oceans. Actually, there's a text that says on this halacha, on this mishnah that you have to make a bracha on yam and naharis. Text says you don't make on all naharis, on all rivers. Only the ones that are mentioned, the big ones that are mentioned in the pasuk, like Chidakal and Paras. So it's not clear. It seems like from Taisus that you only make on these 4, and that's it. And 4 that are mentioned in the Torah. Sorry, I'm not sure. So Lamaisa, the other place, a lot of the place can bring that Taisus really meant kimai. For instance, these that are massive and huge, and the Magen brings it lalacha that even though the Lashon Shulchan Aruch is like Taisus, these rivers, but Magen and the other place can bring that they mean as an example, any massive river, an ocean that, like we said, is Ma'ira Espilus, you make a bracha, but not any random, any small.
So, according to Mishnah, Mishnah Berurah, that only Chidekel and
So the Lashon, the Taisus seems to say
only in the Middle East and only in this area. How about all over the world? The bigger places.
It's a very good question. So this is the question. This is part of what the place can ask. What's Pshat and Taisus? So it seems a possible explanation is that you're making a bracha on something great, right? So you only want to make a bracha on the rivers that are mentioned in the Torah, and the rivers that are mentioned in the Torah, they have an added greatness. Not just it's a physically great, it was also mentioned in the Torah.
Well, you get in Brazil,
but like you said, that's what the other place can ask, and that's what the Magen says. That's what the Magen. You're right, 100%. What you're saying is correct. The place can say what you're saying. They say it can't be. You have bigger rivers. How could you say you don't make a bracha on these bigger rivers? That's why lalach l'mayis they say, like you said. But obviously, like we said again, it has to be very big. It can't be another small. It has to be something very, very big.
Chidekel, it's existing nowadays. Right, I know it's next to Egypt.
The Yam Suf. Chidekel is the Yam Suf.
Chidekel is next to
Let's go from Africa, beginning of Africa, all the way to Egypt.
Chidekel is fibers.
What's that in English?
Fibers.
Fibers.
And there's evidence that the fibers river actually has changed course over these centuries.
It changed course, but not B'dei.
But after the person shift.
Okay, so it's not that they made another canal or something.
No.
Okay, so
The river shift.
right. So this is interesting. You're saying if it changed course, you said this Chidaka, you said changed course over the years.
I'm not saying it's a fact, but it gives evidence to that effect.
Interesting. They probably saw old maps and there was a bit different.
And archaeological concepts.
Interesting.
That's about Ur-Kasdim. It's the location of Ur-Kasdim when they find Abraham. It seems to have been on the coast, and today it's inland. So that's because the water changed course.
The water shift.
Interesting. So it's interesting you pointing out there is a discussion in the place like we said earlier. What happens to things that were created but not B'Misheshem they were created a bit later, right? We discussed earlier that seemingly you make a bracha even if it was created later. But we discussed about the Yam HaMelech and the Meretz Tai says that the mountains were created later. So it seemed that you make a bracha even things that were created later by the Eibishter. But in the Paiskim, when they specifically speak about these halachis, they don't bring these examples that I mentioned, but they discuss something that changed course. And there's not clear in the Paiskim that if something changed course, like you said, B'dei Shemayim by itself, right? Not that human beings came and moved. So like you said, for instance, Chidak, you said change course. It's not clear. When the Paiskim discuss about changing course, there's a certain understanding of some Paiskim that even if it changed B'dei Shemayim, but if it changed course from Ma'aseh Bereishis, you wouldn't make the bracha.
Like we know how it was before and how it's now.
So in this case, we know that it changed. He's saying that we know for sure that it changed. It sounds the Mishnah Berurah brings from the Pri Megadim that the understanding seems to be that even if it changed B'nei Shemayim, if it changed later, you wouldn't make a bracha. So I'm pretty sure the Mishnah Berurah paskins. So I guess something like Chidaka, you wouldn't be able to make that bracha because we know that it changed.
On Yam Suf. You see the place where it was Kiras Yamsuf. The Gemara will bring up. I'll always say
that would be Mitzad Nas. The question is, do we know where the Yam Suf is, or is there the Machlekes? There's probably a lot of discussion which where it is, no? Right, so it's not so simple. About the Yam Suf.
What do you mean? Which part of Yam Suf was split?
No, what's considered the Yam Suf? Which river on our map is the Yam Suf? There's different. I know that there's. I'm pretty sure there's
It's not a
different.
river, that the Suez Peninsula. It has two.
Like a V.
Yeah, like a V.
Right.
So which one is the Yam Suf?
That's true.
Today on the maps they call that whole thing. It goes all the way down to Africa. They call the whole thing Yam Suf.
Right.
But it could be
Time of day,
it's only those one of those fingers on the
Right.
Right. So just to be mistaken a bit. So which rivers do you make a bracha on? So number one thing's for sure, it has to be something great and massive and big that a spilus, and it has to be the pashas. You have to know that there has to be good reason to believe that it was dear Misheshim Berachos, or at least from the Mambam. It has to be not something that we know change course. You wouldn't make a bracha.
When you go over here on the big QE, every time you see the money in the water, make any bracha. Or you cross the bridges, 14 bridge, Manhattan bridge, whatever.
Yeah, but that's the Hudson River,
East River.
the East River. Uh-huh.
The George Washington Bridge is over the Hudson.
Yeah,
The East-
that's right near.
I don't know. Those aren't that big. I mean, at least to me, it doesn't seem so big. I don't know.
There's no spirals.
I mean,
Because
yeah,
we
at
used to
first, right.
we used to
It could be because I'm used to that could be. I don't know.
But a canal, you can't make a bracha, right? Suez Canal, Erie Canal.
It has to be something that's murdered. It has to be something that's murdered by you. You have to know that it was dear Mishesh Mebreshis, or you have to have a good reason to believe. You don't know that it changed course, and it has to be something mighty, something
Yeah,
major.
Canal changed course because of commerce. They had to go around the whole continent. Now cut the
You saying humans change course?
yeah.
Then for sure you
Humans
would.
made the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, and the Erie Canal. And so they made a shortcut going through.
So then you would go. Oh, I just want to make one point about what you're saying. Even if it changed course, only the part that changed, you wouldn't make a bracha. If there's a certain part that we know always was there, you can still make a bracha. So let's say in the chidakel, if let's say it got bigger, it moved right or left, but if
Only
there's
that
an original
section you
part,
don't make a bracha,
right? But the
rest-
original part, you can still make a bracha. Yeah. So if you see the Atlantic Ocean, you make a bracha, right? But if I mean, if someone just goes to the edge,
you go on the belt where
you don't always. I don't know if you realize. I don't know if you understand what you're looking at. You just see however far you see. You don't realize that this is a massive. I don't know. If you don't feel anything special, I don't know if you would make a bracha.
If you make a trip, you have to take somebody historian with you, tell you this is for me make a machine.
And you realize the.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe when you go on the airplane, a lot of times you go on the airplane and you could see much bigger than maybe that's see a massive.
Let's say if you're on the plane and you see the Alp, then you make the bracha. Or
If you see it, then you see with your eyes, and
the
it's
ocean is
yeah.
stop.
Yes, you'd make.
But it has to be at least 30 days.
That's correct. That's true. Yes, unless it's a different ocean. If you saw one ocean and then tomorrow you see a different ocean, then you'd make a bracha. So that's that. The next thing is mountains, mountains and deserts. So the lashon of Shulchan Aruch is the lashon hamashunim v'nikeres gvuras habayir b'hem. They're different, they're unique, and it's evident in them the great mighty power of the Creator, of the Eibishter. The question is, Shulchan Aruch uses a very sharp lashon. Has to be very very hamashunim and v'nikeres gvuras habayir. So you have to know what this means practically. The Chachmas Adam adds, based on this, that only mountain ranges that are Yedua, they're Mephursam, they're known to be, the major, say Mount Everest or whatever. They're different. Even locally, you have not far in New Hampshire, you have Mount Washington. It's supposed to be the biggest in this area of North America.
Right.
I think these are famous. So similar in these, you'd be able to make a bracha. But they bring from Shlomo Zalman Auerbach that he said, since we, who could come and say that this is what halach considers to be a mefursim. So he says that it's very hard to make a bracha. But I don't know. I have heard from some people that have made brachas on mountains. It's very very big, and it's something that's at least somewhat is famous, like we said, Mount Washington or whatever it is. Different such mountains you would make the bracha.
Yeah, I made it on the Rocky Mountains.
On the
On the Rocky Mountains, somebody did bracha.
where's that?
Out west, like in Colorado and whatnot.
Okay.
It's a whole mountain range.
Okay.
Here's a question.
You have people who are very inspired when they go up on the skyscraper, like the World Trade Center Empire State Building. Um, um,
What are they inspired from?
it's unbelievable what you see. Like it's
The buildings?
no,
The distance.
you can see the curvature of the Earth. You can see, I think you can see miles and miles. You know, it's like it's breathtaking.
So in general, like, this is a rule in everything. So with brachas or tefillas or anything, in general, we have guidelines by Chazal. Chazal tell us which brachas to make, which brachas not to make. So in general, even if seemingly, like you said, there could be other types of sites that inspire a person, you generally keep to the scenarios that Chazal spoke about. So I don't know what to say in such a case. I hear what you're saying. I don't know if you would make a bracha on such a thing. Seemingly not, because it's not one of the listed. I don't know. I wouldn't think that. So just to finish off one more thing, this could also be a real nafkamina lemaisa. So besides these brachas, there's another, like we said, there's another special bracha for the Yam HaGadol. Question is, what is the Yam HaGadol? So Machlekes HaPoskim, Shulchan Aruch, the Mechaber writes the Yam HaTichon. The Yam HaTichon is the Mediterranean. It's off of Eretz Yisrael. It's pretty big, but it's off of Eretz Yisrael. Other Achreinim want to say it's going on Okeanos, which I think is the Atlantic, or maybe all the oceans. All the oceans are connected. The oceans that are surrounding the entire world.
Most of the world's on fire.
Right, most of the world's surrounding the ocean. So
there's more ocean than water.
correct. So and because seemingly that when we say Gadol, we're referring to the biggest ocean. But the Svara of the Mechaber is it's connected to something you were saying earlier, is because this is the one that's mentioned in the Torah, and it's the Yam HaGadol near Eretz Yisrael. So since it's the big ocean near Eretz Yisrael, it gets a certain cheshivas. That's why there's a machlekes. So it's a machlekes what to do. Lemaisa, you make this other. We mentioned earlier, if someone sees the Atlantic, wherever he goes off the shore and he sees the Atlantic, what bracha does he make? Does he make a? So the Achreinim, the Mechaber, it sounds like you would you make on the Mediterranean, but the other Achreinim say on the Okeanos, which would mean the oceans that surround the world, and the Ktseis HaShulchan, Chaim Na also brings like this. He paskins that you make it only on the oceans that surround the world. Yeah. That's
Which mountain would be like a wall?
I'm not familiar with the mountain ranges over there.
Golan Heights, Sinai.
Very possible, very possible.
Mount
Yeah.
Sinai, we don't know which one. It's Mount Sinai. Focus.
Right, it is, yeah, we don't know. But that wouldn't be next as well.
Sinai.
Right, Sinai.
Sinai.
Okay. Yeah. So we should be saying that we shouldn't just have to see different creations of the Eibishter. We should be saying Mashiach, v'nigel kvei d'Hareya.
Mashiach come, we're going to sell this bracha?
We'll ask him.
Probably, but
Yes.
all I'm saying is that when Mashiach comes, there will be a gilul akus. There will be a revelation of godliness that we won't need to come on to. We won't need it to come on to all these things to instill in ourselves the Amunah and the greatness of the Eibishter.
To Australia. So the pilot announced, "Welcome to Australia."